The stars looked different this far from home. Captain Dae-hyun Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the endless dark through the main viewport. 3 months ago, his ship had been the first to break through the light barrier. 3 months of exploring empty systems and dead worlds. Now finally they had found something. The alien ship hung in space like a massive crystal. It was beautiful in a way that made Dae-hyun's chest tight. Purple and blue lights pulsed along its surface. The ship was 3 times larger than the Indomitable, and its design was so different from anything human that it hurt to look at too long. The curves and angles didn't make sense to eyes used to Earth engineering. "Captain, they're responding to our hail," Lieutenant Minji Park said from the weapons station. Her fingers moved across her console, bringing up the translation software. The computer had been working for 20 minutes to decode the alien language. Dae-hyun nodded. "Put it through," the view screen flickered. An alien face appeared. Dae-hyun had seen the preliminary scans, but seeing one in real time was different. The creature stood tall, maybe 8 feet. Its skin was dark blue and seemed to shimmer like oil on water. 4 eyes, arranged in a square pattern, stared out from the screen. The mouth was wide and filled with teeth that looked like they belonged to a shark. "I am Commander Thelixus of the Vral Empire," the alien said. The translator turned his words into English with only a slight delay. "You are in territory claimed by the Vral for 3,000 years. State your purpose." Dae-hyun straightened his uniform. First contact protocols ran through his mind. "Stay calm, be respectful. Show strength but not aggression. I am Captain Dae-hyun Kim of the United Earthship Indomitable. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic relations with other species." Thelixus made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Earth? We have no record of your world in our databases. You must be a young species, very young to only now reach the stars." "We achieved faster than light travel 8 months ago," Dae-hyun said. He tried to keep the pride out of his voice. "We're eager to learn from older civilizations." 8 months. Thelixus leaned forward. "The Vral have traveled the stars for 20,000 years. We have seen species rise and fall. We have brought order to chaos." He paused. "Tell me, Captain, what weapons does your ship carry?" The question felt wrong. Dae-hyun glanced at Minji. She touched her earpiece and shook her head slightly. The scans hadn't detected any weapons charging on the Vral ship. "Not yet. We have defensive capabilities," Dae-hyun said carefully, "but we hope we won't need them." "Show me," Thelixus said. It wasn't a request. Dae-hyun felt the situation slipping. Every instinct told him to refuse, but refusing might start a war. He nodded to Minji. External camera feed of weapon ports. The screen split. On one side, Thelixus watched. On the other, the Indomitable's hull appeared. The camera focused on the railgun batteries, the missile tubes, the point defense systems. All human weapons. All based on projectiles and explosives. Thelixus stared for a long moment. Then he started laughing. The sound was harsh and grating. His 4 eyes widened with what looked like genuine amusement. "Kinetic weapons?" Thelixus said between laughs. "You still use kinetic weapons? Physical projectiles?" He turned to someone off-screen and spoke in his own language. More laughter came from other Vral on his bridge. Dae-hyun felt heat rise in his face. "Our weapons are effective." "Effective?" Thelixus's laughter died. His face became serious. "Child species. The Vral abandoned such primitive technology 15,000 years ago. We use energy weapons now. Plasma lances that can cut through your ship like paper, particle beams that strike at near light speed. And you," he gestured dismissively, "you throw metal at your enemies. Do your guns even need bullets? Or do you just throw them like stones?" The bridge of the Indomitable was silent. Dae-hyun saw his crew looking at him, waiting for his response. He thought about Earth, about the decades of work that went into every system on this ship, about the scientists and engineers who had given everything to reach the stars. "Our technology may be different from yours," Dae-hyun said slowly, "but that doesn't make us primitive." "Different?" Thelixus leaned back. "No, Captain, inferior. And inferior species in Vral space have 2 choices. Submit to our protection and guidance or be removed as a threat. You will return to your Earth. You will tell your leaders that they must send ambassadors to the Vral homeworld. These ambassadors will kneel before the High Council and accept our terms. And if we refuse," Dae-hyun asked, "then we will visit your Earth ourselves." Thelixus smiled, showing all his teeth. "And we will not be so polite." Dae-hyun looked around his bridge. Minji's hand was on her console, ready. At the navigation station, Ensign Taewon Nam watched the Vral ship carefully. The rest of the crew was tense, waiting. "We're not going to kneel," Daehyun said quietly. "Not to you. Not to anyone." Thelxus's four eyes narrowed. "Then you are a fool." A typical response from a primitive species. "You don't understand the galaxy you've entered. You don't understand power." He raised one hand. "I will teach you." The screen went black. Alarms started blaring immediately. Minji's fingers flew across her console. "Captain, they're charging weapons. Multiple energy signatures building. Shields up. All hands to battle stations." Daehyun dropped into his command chair. "Minji, weapons free. Target their weapon ports." "Sir, should we try to run?" Taewon asked. "We could jump back to—" "They'll follow us to Earth," Daehyun said. "We make our stand here." The Vral ship opened fire. Purple beams of light crossed the space between ships in an instant. The Indomitable's shields flared as the energy weapon struck. The ship shuddered. Lights flickered. "Shields holding at 70%, Minji reported. "That's not good, sir. Those weapons are strong." "Return fire," Daehyun ordered. The railgun spoke. Solid slugs of tungsten, accelerated to incredible speeds, shot across space. They struck the Vral ship's shields and exploded into vapor. The purple energy field around the enemy ship barely flickered. "No damage to their shields," Minji said. "Sir, our kinetic weapons aren't getting through." Before Daehyun could respond, his communication console lit up. "Captain, this is Sergeant Hyunwoo Choi in the hangar bay. Sir, we have a problem. There's something appearing in here. Some kind of teleportation?" Daehyun's blood went cold. "What?" 12 contacts, sir. They're big. Really big. They're armed and—" The sound of gunfire came through the comm, screaming, more gunfire. "Hyunwoo, report!" Daehyun shouted. "They're here, Captain. Boarding party. We're engaging!" Daehyun looked at the Vral ship on the screen. Thelxus had sent warriors onto his ship. Warriors who probably thought humans would be easy to kill. "All Marines to the hangar bay," Daehyun ordered. "Repel boarders." He looked at Minji. "Keep firing. I don't care if it seems useless." "Keep them busy," Minji nodded. The Indomitable shook again as another energy beam hit. The shields were at 50% now. In the hangar bay, Sergeant Hyunwoo Choi and his 4 Marines faced 12 Vral warriors. The aliens stood tall in their armor, energy shields glowing around them. They held weapons that hummed with power. One of the Vral warriors spoke. The translator built into the Marines' helmets picked it up. "Surrender, primitives. You cannot harm us. Your bullets are useless against Vral technology." Private Yoonji Lee, fresh out of training and on her first mission, raised her rifle with shaking hands. Beside her, Hyunwoo checked his weapon and smiled. "Let's test that theory," he said. The hangar bay of the Indomitable was huge and empty. Normally it held shuttles and cargo containers. Now it held 12 Vral warriors and 4 human Marines. The aliens walked forward slowly, their energy shields shimmering purple in the artificial light. Each warrior stood nearly 8 feet tall. Their armor was dark and covered in symbols that glowed faintly. Sergeant Hyunwoo Choi held up his fist, signaling his team to hold position. They were behind a cargo container, using it for cover. Private Yoonji Lee was beside him, her rifle pressed against her shoulder. Her breathing was too fast. Hyunwoo could see her finger trembling on the trigger. "Easy," he whispered. "Control your breathing. In through your nose, out through your mouth." Yoonji nodded but didn't speak. On Hyunwoo's other side were Corporal Do Yun Song and Private Jiho Kwan. Both men had their weapons ready. Both looked calmer than Yoonji, but Hyunwoo could see the tension in their shoulders. The lead Vral warrior stopped in the middle of the hangar. He raised his weapon, a long rifle that crackled with blue energy. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the space. The translator in their helmets turned his words into Korean. "Human warriors, I am Warlord Kravesh of the Vral Empire. You are surrounded and outmatched. Look at your weapons. Look at ours. You carry toys that throw metal. We carry the power of stars. Your bullets cannot pierce our shields. You cannot harm us. Put down your primitive guns and you will be taken prisoner. Refuse and you will die." Through their helmet communicators, Hyunwoo heard Captain Daehyun's voice. "Sergeant, what's your situation?" Hyunwoo kept his eyes on the Vral. 12 hostiles in the hangar, sir. They've got energy shields and they think we can't hurt them. Can you? About to find out, sir. Hyunwoo looked at his team. 3 young Marines looking at him for orders. He thought about his training. Years of learning how to fight, how to shoot, how to survive. The instructors never mentioned aliens with energy shields. But they did teach him one thing that seemed to apply here. When the enemy is confident, they make mistakes. He switched his communicator to the external speaker. "Warlord Kravesh, we've got a question for you." The Vral warrior tilted his massive head. "Speak, human. Those shields of yours. They stop energy weapons, right? Plasma lasers, particle beams." Kravesh's laugh was deep and mocking. "Yes, primitive. Our shields are designed by the finest Vral engineers. They can absorb and deflect any energy attack. They have protected us for 10,000 years. But have you ever fought someone who didn't use energy weapons?" Kravesh stopped laughing. His 4 eyes narrowed. "What?" I said. Hyunwoo stood up from behind the cargo container. "Have your shields ever stopped a bullet?" He raised his rifle and fired. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. A 3-round burst. Standard armor-piercing rounds. The bullets crossed the distance in a fraction of a second. The first round hit Kravesh's shield. The purple energy flickered. The bullet passed through like the shield wasn't even there. It struck the Vral's chest armor and punched through. The second and third rounds followed, both hitting center mass. Kravesh stumbled backward. His 4 eyes went wide with shock. He looked down at his chest, at the holes in his armor, at the dark blood pouring out. He tried to speak, but only blood came from his mouth. Then he fell, hitting the hangar floor with a crash that echoed. For a moment, nobody moved. The Vral warriors stared at their fallen leader. The human marines stared at the Vral warriors. Hyunwoo couldn't believe it had worked. The shields just let the bullets through. Then everything happened at once. "Open fire," Hyunwoo shouted. The marines opened up. 4 rifles firing on full automatic. The sound was like thunder. Spent shell casings flew through the air, clinking on the metal floor. The bullets tore through the Vral shields as if they didn't exist. The aliens' armor was strong, but not strong enough. Round after round punched through. The Vral tried to fight back. They raised their energy weapons and fired. Blue bolts of plasma shot across the hangar. One bolt missed Jiho by inches and melted a hole in the wall behind him. Another bolt hit the cargo container, turning the metal white hot. But the Vral were trained to fight enemies with energy weapons. Enemies who would take cover and fire back carefully. They weren't ready for humans who just kept shooting. The Marines emptied their magazines, reloaded, and kept firing. 30 rounds, 40, 50. The bullets never stopped. Do-Yun, the best shot in the squad, aimed carefully even while moving. Each time he pulled the trigger, a Vral fell. Jiho fired in controlled bursts, walking his shots from target to target. Hunji, scared but determined, held her rifle steady and fired at the biggest alien she could see. 8 seconds. That's how long it took. 8 seconds from the first shot to the last. When the gunfire stopped, all 12 Vral warriors lay on the hangar floor. None of them moved. The silence after was almost worse than the noise. Hyunwoo's ears were ringing. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. He looked at his team. All 4 of them were still standing, still alive. "Not one injury. Check them," Hyunwoo ordered. "Make sure they're down." Do-Hyun and Jiho moved forward carefully, weapons ready. They checked each body, all dead. On the bridge, Captain Daehyun's voice crackled through the comm. "Sergeant, report." "Hangar secured, Captain," Hyunwoo said. His voice sounded strange in his own ears. "All hostiles down. No friendly casualties." There was a pause. "Say again, Sergeant?" "All 12 Vral warriors are dead, sir." Their shields didn't stop our bullets. They passed right through. Another pause, longer this time. "Then hold position. I'm sending Dr. Jiwon Kang down to examine the bodies. We need to understand what just happened." 10 minutes later, Dr. Jiwon Kang arrived with a medical team. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. She'd been the ship's chief medical officer and xenobiologist for 5 years. She'd studied alien life in theory but never seen an actual alien before today. She knelt beside Kravesh's body and pulled out a scanner. The device hummed as it analyzed the Vral warrior's equipment. After a few minutes, she stood up and walked over to Hyunwoo. "Sergeant, do you understand what happened here?" She asked. "Not really, ma'am. We shot them and they died." Jiwon held up her scanner, showing him the readings. "Their shields are incredibly advanced. They can absorb massive amounts of energy. If you'd fired a laser or plasma weapon at them, you'd probably be dead right now. The shield would have absorbed it and they would have killed you easily. But our bullets worked." "Exactly. Because your bullets aren't energy. They're solid matter moving fast. The shields are programmed to detect and stop energy attacks. They scanned for heat signatures, electromagnetic radiation, particle beams, but a simple piece of metal? She smiled. The shield doesn't even register it as a threat. It just passes through. Hyunwoo looked down at his rifle. So our primitive weapons are actually better against them? Not better, just different. The Vral have been fighting with energy weapons for so long that they designed their defenses only for energy. They never considered that someone might still use kinetic weapons. It's like, she thought for a moment, it's like building a wall to stop arrows but leaving a door open because you forgot people could just walk. They optimized their technology for one type of threat and became vulnerable to another. On the bridge, Captain Daehyun was receiving the same information from engineer Taewon Nam. The young man had analyzed the scans of the Vral ship's shields and found the same thing. Energy shields incredibly powerful but useless against physical projectiles. Captain, Minji said from her station, the Vral ship is hailing us again. Put it through. Commander Thelxus appeared on screen. His 4 eyes were blazing with fury. What have you done? My warriors are not responding. They attacked us, Daehyun said calmly. We defended ourselves. They're dead. Impossible. Their shields. Don't stop bullets, Daehyun finished. Your technology is impressive, Commander. But it has a weakness. A big one. Thelxus stared at him. For the first time, the alien looked uncertain. Then the uncertainty turned to rage. You dare? You primitives dare to kill Vral warriors? I will destroy you. I will destroy your ship. I will follow you to your Earth and burn it. You can try, Daehyun said. He looked at Minji and nodded. Minji's fingers moved across her console. Sir, recommend we modify our torpedo warheads. Replace the explosive cores with solid penetrators. If their shields don't stop bullets, they won't stop tungsten rods either. Do it, Daehyun ordered. And prepare for... The Vral ship opened fire with everything. The view screen showed a wall of purple energy beams crossing space. The Indomitable's shields lit up like a sun as the energy weapons struck again and again. Shields failing, Taewon shouted. We can't take much more. Daehyun gripped his chair. Minji, how long for those torpedoes? 2 minutes. We don't have 2 minutes. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from consoles. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red lighting. But in those 2 minutes, everything changed. Because while the Vral had powerful energy weapons and advanced shields, they'd made one critical mistake. They'd assumed that older technology was useless. They'd forgotten that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one, and humanity was about to remind them. The bridge of the Indomitable was chaos. Red emergency lights painted everything in blood colors. Smoke drifted from damaged consoles. The ship shook again as another Vral energy beam hit the weakening shields. Sparks showered down from a broken panel near the ceiling. Captain Daehyun held onto his command chair and watched the tactical display. 15 Vral warships had appeared from faster-than-light jumps. 15 against 1. The Indomitable was surrounded. Every few seconds, one of the alien ships fired, and each hit brought the human ship closer to destruction. Shields at 20%, Lieutenant Minji Park called out. Her voice was steady despite the situation. If we take another direct hit to the same section, they'll collapse completely. How long until the torpedoes are ready? Daehyun asked. 30 seconds, Engineer Taewon Nam replied. He was working at his station, sweat on his face. We're pulling the explosive cores out of 6 torpedoes and replacing them with solid tungsten penetrators. Each one will weigh 2 tons and hit at 0.37 light speed. Daehyun nodded. 30 seconds. The shields just needed to hold for 30 more seconds. He opened the ship-wide communication channel. All hands brace for impact. Multiple incoming. 3 Vral cruisers fired simultaneously. Purple beams of plasma converged on the Indomitable from different angles. The shields flared bright, then died. The beams cut into the ship's hull. Metal screamed and tore. Deck 7 was open to space. 20 crew members died instantly as the atmosphere vented. Alarms screamed. Damage reports flooded in, but Daehyun ignored them all and focused on one thing. Minji? Torpedoes ready, she said. Fire. 6 torpedoes launched from the Indomitable. They were smaller than the normal ones, and they didn't have warheads that would explode. Just solid rods of tungsten, the hardest metal humanity had. The torpedoes' engines burned hard, pushing the penetrators faster and faster. The Vral ships didn't try to dodge. Why would they? Their shields could stop any energy weapon. Commander Thelxus, watching from his flagship, actually laughed when he saw the primitive kinetic weapons approaching. The first penetrator hit a Vrail cruiser. The purple shield flickered. Then the tungsten rod passed through it like it wasn't there. The rod hit the alien ship at over 100,000 kilometers per second. The kinetic energy was unimaginable. The cruiser simply came apart. It didn't explode. It just ceased to exist as a ship and became a cloud of debris. The second penetrator hit another cruiser. Same result. The ship was there one moment and gone the next. The third hit a destroyer. The smaller ship broke in half, both pieces spinning away into the dark. On his flagship, Thelxus stopped laughing. He stared at his displays, at the symbol showing 3 of his ships just gone. His 4 eyes were wide. "What?" he whispered. "How?" His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexus, was already analyzing what had happened. He was younger than Thelxus and had always believed the commander was too proud. Now he understood why pride was dangerous. "Commander," Vexus said carefully, "they're weapons. They're not energy-based. They're solid projectiles. Our shields, I know what our shields do." Thelxus roared. He turned to face Vexus. His mouth was full of sharp teeth, all visible as he snarled. "Our shields are the finest in the galaxy. They have protected Vrail ships for 10,000 years. Against energy weapons, yes," Vexus said. "But these humans, they still use kinetic weapons. Solid matter. Our shields don't recognize physical projectiles as threats. The shield sensors are calibrated for energy signatures only. A physical object just passes through." Thelxus was silent. Around them, the bridge crew of the flagship worked at their stations. Nobody looked at the commander. They all knew what this meant. For 10,000 years, the Vrail had fought other species. For 10,000 years, every one of those species used energy weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, laser batteries. The Vrail had built their entire military doctrine around that assumption. Their shields, their armor, their tactics, all designed to fight energy weapons. And now they'd found a species that didn't follow the rules. "This is impossible," Thelxus said quietly. "They're primitives. They're barely in space. They can't defeat us." "Commander, 3 of our ships are destroyed," Vexus said. "We need to adapt our strategy. Perhaps if we deactivate our shields and rely on armor alone." "Deactivate our shields?" Thelxus turned on him. "Never. The shields are the symbol of Vrail superiority. We will not abandon them because of one lucky shot." He pointed at the view screen at the damaged human ship. "Look at them. Their vessel is crippled. They have no shields left. One more attack and they're finished. All ships concentrate fire on the human ship. Destroy it now," Vexus wanted to argue. He wanted to explain that the Indomitable had just proven they could kill Vrail ships easily, that continuing the attack was suicide. But he was second in command. He wasn't in charge, so he stayed silent and watched. 12 Vrail warships opened fire. The space between the fleets turned purple with energy beams. Without shields, the Indomitable took the full force of the attack. Plasma cut through the hull in dozens of places. Entire sections of the ship were destroyed. More crew died. The ship was dying. On the bridge, Daehyun held on as his command chair was torn from the floor by an explosion. He hit the wall hard. Pain shot through his shoulder. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. Around him, his crew struggled to keep the ship functional. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons." "Sir, we only have 3 torpedoes left," Minji called back. "If we use them now, we're dead anyway if we don't." Fire, 3 more torpedoes launched. 3 more Vrail ships died. But 9 ships remained, and the Indomitable couldn't take another barrage. Daehyun knew it. His crew knew it. Maybe Thelxus knew it too because the alien commander was laughing again on the communication channel. "You see, humans? You see the power of the Vrail? Your tricks mean nothing. We are superior. We are—" A new voice cut across the channel. It was Admiral Sohee-An, broadcasting from Earth's lunar command millions of kilometers away. Her message had been sent hours ago before the battle started, traveling at light speed. Only now did it arrive. "Captain Daehyun Kim, this is Admiral An. We received your distress signal. Reinforcements are on the way. 8 to 72 hours. Hold the line. Protect Earth, that's an order. 72 hours. 3 days. Daehyun looked at his ship. At the fires burning in exposed sections. At the dead bodies floating in corridors open to space. At the crew members still fighting to keep the Indomitable alive. 3 days was impossible. "They'd be dead in 3 minutes unless, Minji," he said. "How many railgun slugs do we have left?" She checked her console. 4,000 rounds for the main battery. Maybe 10,000 for point defense. And the Vral shields don't stop them. No, sir. Daehyun smiled. It hurt his face because of the cut, but he smiled anyway. Then let's introduce Commander Thalxis to the oldest human military doctrine. When you're outgunned, you don't try to match their firepower. You attack their weakness. He opened a channel to the lower decks. Sergeant Hyunwoo, I need your Marines. Hangar Bay, 5 minutes, sir. Hyunwoo's voice came back. What's the mission? The Vral are going to try to board us again. I'm going to let them. And when they do, you're going to teach them the second thing their shields can't stop. What's the second thing, sir? Us. On the Vral flagship, Thalxis was making plans. Plans to board the human ship. Plans to capture the primitive crew and bring them back as examples. Plans to visit Earth and show them what happened to species who defied the Vral. Thalxis watched his commander and said nothing. But he was thinking. Thinking about the 6 Vral ships that were now debris. Thinking about how confident Thalxis had been before. Thinking about the human captain who smiled even when his ship was dying. In the hangar bay of the Indomitable, Sergeant Hyunwoo Choi gathered his Marines. Private Yoonji Lee was there, and Corporal Do-Yun Song and Private Ji-ho Kwan. They were tired. They'd been fighting for hours. But they were ready. Listen up, Hyunwoo said. The captain's letting more Vral board us. I know that sounds crazy, but these aliens think they're better than us. They think their technology makes them superior. They keep sending warriors, and we keep killing them. Maybe eventually they'll learn. He checked his rifle. Standard issue. Chemical propulsion. Bullets made of metal and copper. Technology that was hundreds of years old. Technology that the Vral considered primitive and obsolete. Remember the hangar, Hyunwoo said. Remember how easy it was. Their shields don't work against us. Their armor can't stop our rounds. They're taller, stronger, maybe smarter. But that doesn't matter. You know why? The Marines looked at him. Because we've got bullets, Hyunwoo said. And apparently that's all we need. In space, the Vral fleet prepared for another attack. On his flagship, Commander Thalxis ordered his warriors to ready for boarding. He was going to end this battle personally. He was going to show these humans what Vral superiority meant. He never considered that maybe, just maybe, superior technology could create blind spots. That spending 10,000 years fighting the same way could make you forget there were other ways to fight. The humans had forgotten more than the Vral had learned. They'd kept their bullets when everyone else moved to energy weapons. Commander Thalxis stood in the teleportation chamber of his flagship. Around him, 50 of his best warriors prepared for battle. These weren't the regular soldiers he'd sent before. These were his personal guard, trained since birth to fight and kill. Each one had survived dozens of battles. Each one wore the finest armor the Vral could produce. Today, Thalxis said to his warriors, we end this insult to the Vral Empire. These humans have been lucky, nothing more. They found a weakness in our shield technology, but they are still primitive, still weak. We will board their dying ship and we will take their captain alive. Then we will make an example of him. The warriors roared their approval. Thalxis felt pride swell in his chest. He was doing this personally because he needed to. If word spread through the galaxy that a primitive species had damaged Vral ships, other species might get ideas. Might think they could rebel. No. This ended here. This ended now. Deactivate shields. Thalxis ordered. We know their bullets pass through. Rely on armor only. The warriors reached up and touched controls on their suits. The purple energy shields that normally surrounded them flickered and died. Now they wore only their armor. Heavy plates of Vral steel, designed to withstand tremendous impacts. Thalxis was confident. No chemical propulsion weapon could pierce this armor. The humans might have found one weakness, but they wouldn't find another. Teleport. The chamber filled with blue light. The 50 warriors and their commander vanished. On the Indomitable, in a corridor near the engine room, the air shimmered. Blue light flashed. Suddenly, the corridor was full of massive alien warriors. They filled the narrow space, weapons ready. Thalxis looked around. The human ship was a mess. Exposed wires hung from the ceiling. Smoke drifted through the air. Lights flickered. The walls were scorched and dented. He smiled. This ship was almost dead. This would be easy. Find the bridge, he ordered. Kill anyone who resists. Take their captain alive. The warriors moved forward. They were fast despite their size. They'd gone maybe 20 meters when the first shot came. Corporal Do-hyun Song was lying on his stomach on a maintenance catwalk above the corridor. He'd been waiting for 30 minutes, rifle ready, breathing slow. When the Vral appeared below him, he took 3 seconds to aim. Then he fired. The bullet hit a Vral warrior in the neck, in the small gap between helmet and chest armor. The warrior fell. Before the others could react, Do-hyun fired again, and again. 3 shots, 3 dead warriors. Then he rolled away as return fire turned the catwalk into molten metal. "Contact!" Thelxis roared. "Above us!" But Do-hyun was already gone, running through maintenance tunnels too small for the Vral to follow. His job wasn't to win. It was to slow them down, to make them angry, to make them careless. The Vral warriors continued forward. They reached an intersection where 4 corridors met. Private Jiho Kwan was waiting there, positioned behind a reinforced bulkhead door. When the first warriors entered the intersection, he opened fire with an automatic shotgun. At close range, the shotgun was devastating. The armor-piercing slugs punched through Vral armor like paper. 3 warriors went down before they could turn. Jiho fired until his weapon was empty, then ducked back and slammed the bulkhead door closed. The door was made of reinforced steel, designed to seal sections of the ship in case of hull breach. The Vral energy weapons started cutting through it immediately, but it would take them time. Time they didn't have. Thelxis was furious now. He'd lost 6 warriors and they hadn't even seen the human bridge yet. The corridors of this ship were a maze, and the humans knew every inch of it. They were using their environment, using their knowledge of the ship against him. "Faster," he ordered. "We can't let them." An explosion rocked the corridor. Private Yoonji Lee had planted mines, simple explosive devices, the kind humans had used for centuries. The Vral had forgotten that weapons didn't need to be advanced to be deadly. 3 more warriors died in the blast. The survivors were thrown against the walls. On the bridge, Captain Daehyun watched the tactical display. He could see where the Vral were, tracked by the internal sensors. He could see his Marines moving. Through the ship, always 1 step ahead, always just out of reach. "Sergeant Hyunwoo," he said into his comm. "They're getting close to you." "Understood, Captain," Hyunwoo replied. "We're ready." The Vral reached the ship's central hub, a large circular room where multiple corridors connected. It was more open here, harder to hide. Thelxis smiled. Finally. A place where his warriors could use their superior numbers and strength. "Fan out," he ordered. "Watch all approaches." The warriors spread out, weapons raised. The room was silent, except for the hum of the damaged ship's systems. Then, from every corridor at once, the humans attacked. Sergeant Hyunwoo Choi led the assault from the north. Corporal Do-hyun Song came from the east. Private Yoonji Lee from the south. Private Jiho Kwan from the west. 4 Marines against 30 Vral warriors. It should have been suicide, but the Marines didn't fight fair. They used the environment. Yoonji threw a grenade that hit a damaged power conduit. The explosion was bigger than it should have been, filling half the room with fire. Do-hyun fired, from behind a support beam, always moving. Never staying in one place, Jiho went low, sliding across the floor and firing upward at the gaps in the Vral armor, and Hyunwoo just kept advancing. He walked forward, rifle firing in controlled bursts. A Vral warrior shot at him with an energy weapon. The beam missed by inches and melted the wall. Hyunwoo didn't even flinch. He just put 3 rounds into the warrior's chest and kept walking. The Vral were better equipped. They were bigger and stronger. They had fought for 10,000 years. But they'd never fought in confined spaces against opponents who didn't care about fighting honorably. The humans used every dirty trick they knew. They shot through walls. They attacked from behind. They used the smoke and chaos to disappear and reappear. Thelxis watched his warriors fall and couldn't understand it. How were 4 primitives killing trained Vral soldiers? Where was their fear? Where was their respect for Vral superiority? Then he saw Hyunwoo. The human sergeant was covered in burns and blood. His armor was damaged, but he was still fighting, still advancing. And he was smiling. "You." Thelxus said. He raised his own weapon, a heavy energy rifle that could vaporize a human. You dare smile? You're about to die. He fired. The purple beam crossed the room in an instant. But Hyunwoo had already moved. The beam hit where he'd been standing. Hyunwoo came up on the other side of a cargo container and fired his rifle. The bullets hit Thelxus's armor and bounced off. The commander's armor was stronger than his warriors, reinforced with extra layers. Your bullets are useless against me, Thelxus roared. I am Vral, I am superior. Yeah, Hyunwoo said. So was that guy in the hangar, he's still dead. He pulled a device from his belt. It was cylindrical and old-fashioned. A grenade. Not a fancy one with smart targeting or remote detonation. Just a simple explosive device with a pin and a timer. Hyunwoo pulled the pin and threw it. Thelxus watched the grenade arc through the air toward him. He started to laugh. Did this human really think a primitive explosive could harm Vral armor? He'd survived plasma cannons and particle beams. This was nothing. The grenade hit the floor at Thelxus's feet. It exploded. The blast was incredible in the confined space. The shockwave hit Thelxus and threw him against the wall. His armor protected him from the shrapnel and most of the heat. But the concussive force, that was different. His internal organs weren't protected by armor. The blast traveled through his body. He felt something break inside. He tried to stand but couldn't. Blood filled his mouth. Around him, his warriors were dying. The 4 humans had killed 30 trained Vral soldiers. It was impossible. It was insane. But it was happening. Hyunwoo walked over to the fallen commander. He stood above Thelxus, rifle pointed down. You said we were primitive. You said our weapons were useless. You were wrong. How? Thelxus whispered. Blood leaked from his mouth. How did you? We are Vral. We are? Superior? Hyunwoo shook his head. No. You're just old. You stopped adapting. You spent so long being the strongest that you forgot how to deal with being challenged. That's your real weakness. Not your shields, not your technology, your pride. Thelxus's 4 eyes closed. He died there, on the floor of a primitive human ship, killed by weapons his species had abandoned 15,000 years ago. The battle wasn't over. In space, the remaining Vral ships continued their attack. But on the Vral flagship, Subcommander Vexus watched his monitors in silence. He saw Commander Thelxus's life signs flatline. He saw the internal sensors showing all 50 warriors dead. Around him, the bridge crew was silent. They all understood what had just happened. Their commander, their leader, had been killed by primitives. The entire boarding party had been wiped out. 6 Vral warships destroyed. Hundreds of warriors dead. And for what? Pride? The belief that the Vral were superior? Vexus made a decision. He reached for the communication controls and opened a channel to all Vral ships. All vessels, cease fire, fall back to defensive positions. The firing stopped. In the sudden silence, both fleets floated in space. The Indomitable was a wreck, barely holding together. But it was still alive, still fighting. The Vral had lost a third of their fleet to one damaged human ship. 3 days passed before the Earth reinforcement fleet arrived. 3 days of silence between the human ship and the Vral vessels. Neither side attacked. Neither side ran. They just waited, watching each other across the empty space. Captain Daehyun Kim spent those 3 days walking through his dying ship. The Indomitable had taken terrible damage. Hull breaches on 15 decks. The main reactor running at 30% capacity. Life support failing in multiple sections. And the bodies. 147 crew members dead. 300 wounded, some who would never fully recover. In the medical bay, Dr. Ji-won Kang worked without sleep. She moved from bed to bed, treating burns and broken bones and injuries that would leave scars forever. Lieutenant Commander Yoona Shin, the chief medical officer, worked beside her. They'd converted 3 cargo holds into overflow medical facilities. There weren't enough beds for all the wounded. Private Ji-ho Kwan lay in one of those beds. Both his legs were gone from the knees down, severed by a Vral energy beam in the final moments of the battle. He stared at the ceiling, not speaking, not crying, just staring. Daehyun visited him. He sat beside the bed and didn't know what to say. What could you say to someone who gave their legs for their species? Sir, Jiho said quietly. Did we win? Daehyun thought about that. We survived. I don't know if that's the same as winning. But the Vral, did we stop them? Yes, they stopped attacking. They're still out there, but they're not shooting. Jiho nodded. Then after a long silence, it was worth it then, my legs. If it means Earth is safe, it was worth it. Daehyun didn't trust himself to speak. He just squeezed Jiho's shoulder and moved on to the next bed. And the next, and the next, 147 crew members who would never go home. 300 who would carry the marks of this battle forever. On the Vral flagship, Sub-Commander Vexus faced a different problem. He'd taken command after Thelxus died, and now he had to explain to the Vral High Council what had happened. The communication came through on the second day. High Counselor Nexer appeared on the view screen, his four eyes cold and unforgiving. Sub-Commander, Nexer said, explain how a single primitive vessel destroyed 6 of our warships and killed Commander Thelxus and his entire guard. Vexus had prepared for this. He'd known the Council would demand answers. High Counselor, the humans use kinetic weapons, solid projectiles instead of energy weapons. Our shields are not calibrated to stop physical matter. They pass through as if the shields aren't there. And our armor? Inadequate against high-velocity impacts. The humans can accelerate metal to tremendous speeds. The kinetic energy is, we have no defense. Nexar was silent for a long moment. Around him, other council members watched from their seats. Finally, Nexar spoke. The Vral Empire has ruled the galaxy for 20,000 years. We have crushed rebellions and conquered species beyond counting. And now you tell me that a species barely in space has found a weakness in our defenses that no one else discovered? No one else still uses kinetic weapons, High Counselor. We abandoned such technology 15,000 years ago. Every other species in the galaxy followed our example. The humans, Vexus hesitated. The humans never had that example. They developed their own path. Different from ours. Not inferior. Just different. Not inferior? Nexar's voice was dangerous. You dare suggest that primitives might be our equals? I suggest that we have grown complacent. For 15,000 years we have fought enemies who use energy weapons. We designed our entire military doctrine around that assumption. Our shields, our armor, our tactics, all optimized for one type of warfare. And now we've met a species that fights differently. A species that can kill us easily because we forgot there were other ways to fight. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some council members demanded Vexus be removed from command. Others called for an immediate attack on Earth, to destroy humanity before they could spread their dangerous ideas. But Nexar raised one hand and silence fell. Sub-Commander Vexus, Nexar said slowly, I have reviewed the battle data. I have seen our warriors fall to primitive bullets. I have watched Commander Thelxus die because he refused to adapt. The Council is divided on how to proceed. Some want war. Some want to simply leave human space and forget this ever happened. But I want something else. High Counselor, I want you to talk to the humans. Not to threaten them, not to demand their surrender. Talk to them. Learn from them. Because if one young species can find such a glaring weakness in our defenses, others will too. And next time we may not be so fortunate as to face only one ship. Vexus was surprised. He'd expected orders to attack. Instead, the High Counselor was suggesting diplomacy. Learning from primitives. You want me to negotiate? I want you to understand them, Nexar corrected. The Vral Empire survived for 20,000 years because we were willing to adapt when necessary. Commander Thelxus forgot that. He paid for his arrogance with his life. The Council will not make the same mistake. The communication ended. Vexus stood alone on his bridge and thought about what had just been ordered. Then he opened a channel to the Indomitable. The human captain appeared on the screen. He looked exhausted. Blood stained his uniform, but his eyes were alert and intelligent. Captain Daehyun Kim, Vexus said formally, I am Sub-Commander Vexus of the Vral Empire. I have been authorized to propose a temporary ceasefire. Daehyun nodded slowly. A ceasefire. Not a surrender. No, not a surrender. A pause. A chance for both our species to understand what happened here. Your commander Thelxus wanted us to kneel, to accept Vral authority. Has that changed? Vexus thought carefully about his answer. Commander Thelxus believed that superior technology meant superiority in all things. He was wrong. You prove that. The Council has acknowledged this. They are willing to negotiate. Negotiate what exactly? Mutual respect. Perhaps cooperation. Certainly not conquest. Vexus paused. You have wounded, Captain. So do I. My medical technology is more advanced than yours. Allow me to send medical supplies and equipment. No warriors. No weapons. Just medicine. And in return, perhaps you could send someone to explain your kinetic weapons to our engineers. They are curious. Daehyun looked off screen, probably at his crew, then back. I'll need to clear this with Earth Command. But if you're sincere, if this isn't a trick, yes, we can talk. On the third day, Admiral So-hee-an arrived with 12 Earth warships. The old admiral had fought in the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago. She'd seen combat and lost friends. When she saw the Indomitable, she wanted to order an immediate attack on the Vrel fleet. Only Daehyun's report stopped her. They want to negotiate? She said over the comm. After everything they did? They want to understand us, Daehyun corrected. And maybe we should try to understand them too. Admiral, we won this battle, but only because they didn't know about our weapons. Next time they'll be ready. Or another species will attack us and we won't know their weaknesses. We need allies, not enemies. Admiral An was silent for a long time. Finally, all right, Captain. We'll try it your way. But if they make one wrong move, I'm glassing their flagship. Understood? Understood, Admiral. The negotiations took place on a neutral space station that the Vrel built in 2 days. The station was small but functional. On one side, Admiral An and Captain Daehyun represented Earth. On the other, Sub-Commander Vexus and High Counselor Nexar represented the Vrel. They talked for hours. About weapons and technology, about culture and history, about the assumptions both species had made. The Vrel admitted they'd grown complacent. The humans admitted they'd been lucky. Neither side wanted another battle like the first one. In the end, they agreed to a treaty. Not an alliance, not yet, but an agreement of mutual respect and non-aggression. Earth would share some kinetic weapons technology. The Vrel would share some medical and shield technology. Both species would maintain their territories and sovereignty. This is unusual, Nexar admitted during the final meeting. The Vrel Empire has never negotiated with a species as young as yours. Usually we conquer or we ignore. But you have taught us a valuable lesson, Captain Daehyun. What lesson is that? That age does not always mean wisdom. That advanced does not always mean superior. That sometimes the old ways have value we forgot. Nexar's 4 eyes focused on Daehyun. You fought with primitive weapons and primitive tactics. You should have lost, but you didn't. Why? Daehyun thought about his crew, about Sergeant Hyunwoo and his Marines, about Private Jiho who lost his legs, about the 147 dead who would never see Earth again. Because we had something to fight for, he said quietly. Our home, our families, our right to exist. Your Commander Thelxus fought for pride and conquest. We fought for survival. That makes a difference, Nexar nodded slowly. Perhaps it does. Perhaps that is why young species sometimes surprise us. They remember what's important. 2 weeks later, the Indomitable limped back to Earth. The ship would never fly again. The damage was too severe. But it had done its job. It had protected Earth. It had shown the galaxy that humanity was not primitive, not weak, and not willing to kneel. Captain Daehyun stood in the rebuilt hangar bay where this had all started. The walls had been repaired, but you could still see the scorch marks from the first battle.